And everything that I read, I always tell my group, is in the public domain. So it's nothing that you couldn't hop online and print yourself. It's completely accessible if you'd like to do that. All right. Twice already, Marie had pointed out the brilliance of the autumnal sun on the perfect field of corn, because the brilliance of the autumnal sun on the perfect field of corn put her in mind of a haunted house. Now, not a haunted house she had ever actually seen, but the mythical one that sometimes appeared in her mind, with the adjacent graveyard and cat on a fence. Whenever she saw the brilliance of the autumnal sun on the perfect, etc., etc., and she wanted to make sure that if the kids had a corresponding mythical haunted house that appeared in their minds, whenever they saw the brilliance of the, etc., etc., it would come up now so that they could all experience it together. Like friends, like college friends on a road trip, sans spot. Ha ha! But no, when she, a third time, said, "Wow, guys, check that out," Abby said, "Okay, Mom, we get it, it's corn." And Josh said, "Not now, Mom, I'm leavening my loaves," which was fine with her. She had no problem with that, Noble Baker being preferable to Brawl Stuffer, the game he'd asked for. Well, who could say? Maybe they didn't even have any mythical vignettes in their heads, or maybe the mythical vignettes they had in their heads were totally different from the ones she had in her head, which was the beauty of it, because after all, they were their own little people. You were just a caretaker. They didn't have to feel what you felt. They just had to be supported in feeling what they felt. Still, wow, that cornfield was such a classic. "Whenever I see a field like that, guys," she said, "I somehow think of a haunted house." Slicing knife, Josh shouted. "You Nimrod machine, I chose that." Oh well. Speaking of Halloween, she remembered last year when their cornstalk column had tipped their shopping cart over, and gosh, how they'd laughed at that. Oh, family laughter was golden. She had none of that in her childhood. Dad being so dour and Mom so ashamed. If Mom and Dad's cart had tipped, Dad would have given the cart a despairing kick, and Mom would have stridden purposely away to reapply her lipstick, distancing herself from Dad, while she, Marie, would have nervously taken the horrid plastic army man she'd named Brady into her mouth. Well, in this family, laughter was encouraged. Last night, when Josh had goosed her with his Game Boy, she'd shot a spray of toothpaste across the mirror, and they'd all cracked up, rolling around on the floor with Gucci. And Josh had said, such nostalgia in his voice, "Mom, remember when Gucci was a puppy?" Which was when Abby had burst into tears, because being only 5, she had no memory of Gucci as a puppy. Hence, this family mission. As far as Robert, oh, God bless Robert, there was a man, he would have no problem whatsoever with this family mission. She loved the way he had of saying "ho ho" whenever she brought home something new and unexpected. "Ho ho," Robert had said, coming home to find the iguana. "Ho ho," he'd said, coming home to find the ferret, trying to get into the iguana cage. We appeared to be the happy operators of a menagerie. She loved him for his playfulness. She could bring him a hippo. You'd put on a credit card. Both the ferret and the iguana had gone on the credit card. And he'd just say, "ho ho," and ask what the creature ate and what hours it slept and what the heck they were going to name the little bugger. In the back seat, Josh made the get sound he always made when his baker was in the baking mode, trying to get his loaves into the oven while fighting off various hungry denizens, such as a fox with a distended stomach, such as a fey robin that would probably carry the loaf away, speared on its beak, whenever it succeeded in dropping a clonking rock on your baker. All of which Marie had learned over the summer by studying the Noble Baker Manual while Josh was asleep. And it had helped. It really had. Josh was less withdrawn lately, and when she came up behind him on now while he was playing and said, like, "Wow, honey, I didn't know you could do pumpernickel," or "Sweetie, try a serrated blade, it cuts quicker. Try it while doing latch the window," he would reach back with his non-controlling hand and swat at her affectionately. And yesterday they'd shared a good laugh when he'd accidentally knocked off her glasses. So her mother could go right ahead and claim that she was spoiling the kids. These were not spoiled kids. These were well-loved kids. At least she'd never left one of them standing in a blizzard for 2 hours after a junior high dance. At least she'd never drunkenly snapped at one of them. I hardly consider you college material. At least she'd never locked one of them in a closet, while entertaining a literal ditch digger in the parlor. Oh God, what a beautiful world. The autumn colors, that glinting river, that lead-colored cloud pointing down like a rounded arrow at that half-remodeled McDonald's standing above I-90 like a castle. This time would be different. She was sure of it. The kids would care for this pet themselves, since a puppy wasn't scaly and didn't bite. "Oh, ho," Robert had said the first time the iguana bit him. "I see you have an opinion on the matter." Thank you, Lord, she thought as the Lexus flew through the cornfield. You have given me so much. Struggles and the strength to overcome them. Grace and new chances every day to spread that grace around. And in her mind, she sang out as she sometimes did when feeling that the world was good. And she had at last found her place in it. Ho, ho, she said. Ho, ho. Callie pulled back the blind. Yes, awesome. It was still solved. So perfect. There was plenty for him to do back there. A yard could be a whole world, like her yard when she was a kid had been a whole world. From the 3 holes in her wood fence, she's been able to see Exxon, hole 1, and Accident Corner, hole 2, and hole 3 was actually 2 holes that you line them up right. Your eyes would do this weird crossing thing, and you could play, "Oh my God, I'm so high," by staggering away with your eyes crossed going, "Peace, man, peace." When Bo got older, it would be different. Then he'd need his freedom. But now he just needed not to get killed. Once they found him way over on Testament. That was across I-90. How had he crossed I-90? She knew how. Darted. That's how he crossed streets. Once a total stranger called them from Hightown Plaza. Even Dr. Brile had said it. "Callie, this boy is going to end up dead if you don't get this under control. Is he taking the medication?" Well, sometimes he was, and sometimes he wasn't. The meds made him grind his teeth, and his fist would suddenly pound down. He'd broken plates that way, and once a glass-topped table, and got 4 stitches in his wrist. Today, he didn't need the medication because he was safe in the yard because she fixed it so perfect. He was out there practicing pitching by filling his Yankees helmet with pebbles and winging them at the tree. He looked up and saw her and did the thing where he blew a kiss. My sweet little man. Now all she had to worry about was the pup. She hoped the lady who'd called who actually show up. It was a nice pup, white, with brown around one eye, cute. If the lady showed up, she definitely won it. And if she took it, Jimmy was off the hook. He'd hated doing it that time with the kittens, but if no one took the pup, he'd do it. He'd have to, because his feeling was when you said you were going to do a thing and didn't do it, that was how kids got into drugs. Plus, he'd been raised on a farm, or near a farm anyways, and anybody raised on a farm knew that you had to do what you had to do in terms of sick animals or extra animals, and the pup, being not sick, was just extra. Now that time with the kittens, Jesse and Molly had called him a murderer, getting Bo all worked up, and Jimmy had yelled, "Look, you kids, I was raised on a farm and you gotta do what you gotta do." And then he'd cried in bed, saying how the kittens had mewed in the bag all the way to the pond. Now he'd wished he'd never been raised on a farm. And she almost said, "You mean near a farm?" His dad had run a car wash outside Cortland. But sometimes, when she got too smart, he would do this hard pinching thing on her arm while waltzing her around the bedroom, as if the place where he was pinching her like her handle, going, "I'm not sure I totally heard what you just said to me." So that time after the kittens, she'd only said, "Oh, honey, you did what you had to do." And he said, "I guess I did, but it's sure not easy raising kids the right way." And then, because she hadn't made his life harder by being a smart one, they had laid there making plans like, why not sell this place and move to Arizona? Buy a car wash? Why not buy the kids hooked on phonics? Why not plant tomatoes? And then they'd go to wrestling around, and she had no idea why she remembered this. He had done this thing of, while holding her close, bursting this sudden laugh, despair snort into her hair like a sneeze, or like he was about to start crying, which had made her feel special, him trusting her with that. So what she would love for tonight was getting the pup sold, putting the kids to bed early, and then Jimmy seeing her all organized in terms of the pup. They could mess around and after a while lie there making plans, and he could do that laugh snort thing in her hair again. Why that laugh snort meant so much to her, she had no idea. It was just one of the weird things about the wonder that was her. Outside, Bo hopped to his feet and suddenly curious, because here we go. The lady who'd called had just pulled up. Yep, and in a nice car too, which meant too bad she'd put cheap in the ad. Abby squealed, "I love it, Mommy, I want it," as the puppy looked up dimly from its shoebox, and the lady of the house went trudging away. 1, 2, 3, 4, plucked up 4 dog turds from the rug. Well, wow, what a super field trip for the kids, Marie thought. The filth, the mildew smell, the dry aquarium holding the single encyclopedia volume, the pasta pot on the bookshelf with an inflatable candy cane inexplicably sticking out of it. And although some might have been disgusted by the spare tire on the dining room table, by the way the glum mother dog, the presumed in-house pooper, was dragging its rear over the pile of clothing in the corner, in a sitting position, splay-legged, a moronic look of pleasure on her face, Marie realized, resisting the urge to rush to the sink and wash her hands in part, because the sink had a basketball in it, that what this really was deeply sad. "Please do not touch anything. Please do not touch," she said to Josh and Abby, but just in her head, wanting to give the children a chance to observe her being democratic and accepting. And afterward, they could all wash up at the half-remodeled McDonald's, as long as they just please kept their hands out of their mouths, and God forbid they should rub their eyes. The phone rang, and the lady of the house plodded into the kitchen and placing the daintily held paper towel-wrapped turd on the counter. "Mommy, I want it," Abby said. "I will definitely walk him like twice a day," Josh said. "Don't say like," Marie said. "I will definitely walk him twice a day," Josh said. Okay then, all right. They would adopt a white trash dog. They could name it Zeke, buy it a little corncob pipe and a straw hat. She imagined the puppy, having crapped on the rug, looking up at her going, "Can't help it." But no. Had she come from a perfect place? Everything was transmutable. She imagined the puppy grown up, entertaining some friends, speaking to them in a British accent. "My family of origin was rather not, shall we say, of the most respectable." Wow, the mind was amazing, always cranking out these. Well, first Marie stepped to the window and, anthropologically pulling the blind aside, was shocked. So shocked that she dropped the blind and shook her head as if trying to wake herself. Shocked to see a young boy, just a few years younger than Josh, harnessed and chained to a tree. Via some sort of doohickey, by which she pulled the blind back again. Sure, she could not have seen what she thought she had seen. And when the boy ran, the chain spooled out. He was running now, looking back at her, showing off, and then he reached the end of the chain, and it jerked, and he dropped as if shot. He rose to a sitting position, railed against the chain, whipped it back and forth, crawled to a bowl of water, and lifting it to his lips, took a drink from a dog's bowl. Josh joined her at the window. She let him look. He should know that the world was not all lessons and iguanas and Nintendo. It was also this muddy, simple boy tethered like an animal. She remembered coming out of the closet to find her mother's scattered lingerie and the ditch digger's metal hanger full of orange flags, and she remembered waiting outside the junior high in the bitter cold and the snow falling harder as she counted over and over to 200, promising herself each time that when she reached 200, she would begin the long walk back. God, she would have killed for just one righteous adult to confront her mother and shake her and say, "You idiot, this is your child. Your child." "So what were you guys thinking of naming him?" the mom said, coming out of the kitchen. The cruelty and ignorance just radiated from her fat face with its little smear of lipstick. "I'm afraid we won't be taking him after all," Marie said coldly. Such an uproar from Abby. But Josh, she would have to praise him later, maybe buy him that little Italian loaves expansion pack. Hissed something to Abby, and then they were moving out through the trashed kitchen, past some kind of crankshaft on a cookie sheet, past a partial red pepper afloat and a can of green paint. while the lady of the house scuttled after them, saying, "Wait, wait, they could have it for free. Please just take it." She really wanted them to have it. "No," Marie said, "it would not be possible for them to take it at this time." Her feeling being that only one really shouldn't possess something if one wasn't up to properly caring for it. "Oh," the woman said, slumping in the doorway, scrambling pup on one shoulder. Out in the Lexus, Abby began to cry softly. Really, that was the perfect pup for me. And it was a nice pup, but Marie was not going to contribute to a situation like this in even the smallest way. Simply was not going to do it. The boy came to the fence. If only she could have said to him with a single look, "Life will not necessarily always be like this. Your life could suddenly blossom into something wonderful. It can happen. It happened to me." But secret looks that conveyed a world of meaning with their subtle blah, 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 that was all nothing. What was not nothing was a call to child welfare, where she knew Linda Burling, a very no-nonsense lady, who would snatch this poor kid away so fast it would make the fat mother's thick head spin. Callie shouted, "Bo, back in a sec," and wiping the corn out of the way with her non-pup arm, walked until there was nothing but corn and sky. It was so small it didn't move when she set it down, just snipped and tumped over. Well, what did it matter? Drowned in a bag or starved in the corn? This way Jimmy wouldn't have to do it. He'd have enough to worry about. The boy she'd first met with hair to his waist was now this old man shrunk with worry. As far as the money, she had 60 hidden away. She'd give him 20 of that and go. The people who bought the pup were super nice. "Don't look back. Don't look back," she said in her head as she raced away through the corn. Then she was walking along Teal Back Road like a sport walker, like some lady who'd walked every night to get slim, except that she was nowhere near slim. She knew that. She also knew that when sport walking, you did not wear jeans and unlaced hiking boots. She wasn't stupid. She just made bad choices. She remembered Sister Carol saying, "Callie, you are bright enough, but you incline toward that which does not benefit you." "Yep, well, sister, you got that right," she said to the nun in her mind. But what the heck? When things got easier, money-wise, she'd get some decent tennis shoes and start walking and get slim, and start night school, slimmer, maybe medical technology. She was never going to be really slim, but Jimmy liked her the way she was, and she liked him the way he was. Which maybe that's what love was, liking someone how he was and doing things to help him get even better. Like right now, she was helping Jimmy by making his life easier, by killing something so he... No. All she was doing was walking away from. Pushing the words killing puppy out of her mind, she put in her head the words, "Beautiful sunny day. Wow, I'm loving this beautiful sunny day so much." What had she just said? That had been good. Love was liking someone how he was and doing things to help them get better. Like Bo wasn't perfect, but she loved him how he was and tried to help him get better. If they could keep him safe, maybe he'd mellow out as he got older. If he mellowed out, maybe he could someday have a family. Like there he was now in the yard, sitting quietly, looking at flowers, tapping with his bat, happy enough. He looked up, waved the bat at her, and gave her that smile. Yesterday he'd been stuck in the house, all miserable. He'd ended the day screaming in bed, so frustrated, and today he was looking at flowers. Who was it that thought up that idea, the idea that had made today better than yesterday? Who loved him enough to think that up? Who loved him more than anyone else, and the whole wide world loved him? Her. And she did.